Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nitsa coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today. I want to show you guys how you can add depth, richness, and a little bit of body into the low end of a vocal or just a kick or a bass in general. And let's go over and see this little gem of a plugin. How can we get some of the body and the depth without using boosting EQ, right? Because boosting EQ does come with a little bit of consequences. All of the frequencies inside of the spectrum, they go hand in hand. You can't just boost a bunch of top without getting some of the the sibilance, some of the other frequencies around it. All of the whole frequency spectrum goes hand in hand. It's all connected. You can't have the ketchup without the hot dog. You can't have the burgers without the fries. And the same thing goes with like the frequency spectrum, right? Everything goes hand in hand. So I'm going to show you how to get some body in your vocals, add some weight to the vocals without actually doing like boosting EQ on the lows, because that can add a little bit of sometimes those little ground level kind of artifacts, right, to a vocal. So let's listen to the source material that I have here, and let's go over my little gem that I have here today to add some depth and some body, right?
Don't ever give up. Live it out, right? Keep going. Just keep grinding. Don't ever give up. I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Niggas be worse than snakes, niggas be alligators. You niggas be worse than troll, you might do be the raiders. I had to debate a couple things before. I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision. Try to teach you, but you ain't wanna listen. That ain't my dog.
All right, so you guys get the overall picture of the vocal, right? So with a vocal like right here, I kind of wanted to make it sound very mainstream. That's why I think this is a very good example for you guys, because I made it sound very bright. And we have to understand that, a lot of these mainstream artists are using these classical microphones, these tube microphones, the C800, the Telefunken, the AKG C12, all of these amazing microphones that have lasted for so long because they add this incredible depth and this incredible weight to the vocal or whatever source material they put through it, right? So if you listen to a song from back in the day, you always hear this incredible size. Like all the instruments have incredible size, like every single one of them, the bass guitar, the like the piano, everything has this good size, this good weight. Like you feel like this thing is like a kind of like a big whale. Like every song from back in the day sounds like that. And the reason why they do sound like that is because they had a lot of harmonics coming through multiple stages. They had like probably a tube microphone that gave them some saturation, a little bit of transformer, right? Some of those microphones have transformers. Then they had like Neve 1073, which gives it incredible weight in the low register, right? They had vocals that had all of this weight without any of the consequences of using boosting EQ, right? They didn't say, oh, I need to go on the board and boost a bunch of mid bass, because the vocals sound thin. They never really had that problem, right? Because they had a lot of the saturation, a lot of the harmonics, right? So that's why I went ahead and discovered this little trick that I always kind of had of using harmonics rather than to use boosting EQ to make a vocal sound bigger, deeper, and give everything, more that it has to offer in regards to like kind of like the weight of it, right? And the thing that we have right here is the MaxxBass, right? So the MaxxBass is a plugin that's been around for a long time. A lot of people like to use this, like for example, the people who work in like aquariums or big places where they have very big, speaker systems, right? Think about how when you go to the zoo, you walking around and the sound sounds pretty consistent everywhere. The low end, everything has a lot of weight to it. Everything sounds good, right? So it's very expensive to power those speakers, right? So what they needed is like sub generators, right? So there's plugins such as RBass, right? Another one is a Submarine, which is kind of a newer one. And we have MaxxBass, right? So those plugins are all kind of like cousins. They're all kind of like in the same family, but they really ain't that too closely related. They all got their own little features, right? So what I like to do is, to add body to a vocal, what I like to do is I like to solo my vocal, right? And let me make sure I got everything muted right here. And I like to like, pull this slider down, right? So you got to understand that this is the OG bass and this is the pseudo bass, right? So MaxxBass, this plugin, what it uses like it uses harmonics to add some of that body, like a pseudo body. Like it's using like it's tricking your ear, pretty much is what I'm trying to say, right? And now let's listen to the vocal, right? And let's listen to how we can add some more body, but still getting it sounding very clean, kind of like a mainstream vocal.
I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Niggas be worse than snakes, niggas be alligators. You niggas be worse than troll, you might do be the raiders. I had to debate a couple things. I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision. Try to teach you, but you ain't wanna listen.
So what I do with that plugin right there, listen to the ooh, like you hear the low end, right? But it's kind of like I feel like I'm a doctor when I'm using this plugin. I'm trying to find where's the heart and the soul of this vocal. Like pay attention to how when I was on the lower parts, I mean, it's still letting me hear the sub information, right? It's kind of like when you go to the doctor's appointment, right? And the doctor takes the little thing and he puts it on your heart, like he's trying to locate your heart rate, right? But he's not really listening for the low sub. He's kind of listening for that little pokey transient. Like pay attention.
I got a dream now. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raiders. I had to debate a couple things before I had to just.
So that's what I'm doing with this plugin. And when you have it on MaxxBass right here, you're only listening to the pseudo bass, you know? So after that, what I like to do, of course, is like once I find out where it sounds good, I like to, you know, bring it back with the original bass, right? And I like to pull the slider down to 0, right? And mix it in a little bit.
I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raider. I had to debate a couple things before I had to just see that you change the world. Everything I before I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision. Try to teach you, but you ain't wanna listen. That not my dog, but now my dog went missing. It ain't my fault, lil' bro, you ain't had no loyalty.
So as you can pay attention to that right there, I was able to add a lot of body to the vocal, and it also sounds up front too, right? So it's using those pseudo harmonics, right? Pretty much what it's doing is it's cutting everything, right? Up until kind of like this point right here, and it's like just generating some you know, harmonic information, right? And pay attention, the vocal kind of sounded like hollow and skinny, but when I brought in that MaxxBass, you felt like it put on some weight. You feel like it put on a little bit of size, ain't it, right? So the next part right here is the expander, right? The dynamic section, right? So the difference between an expander, it's kind of like the opposite. It's kind of like the worst, it's kind of like if a compressor is the superhero, then the expander is kind of like the supervillain, right? Because a compressor reduces the dynamic range, but an expander, what it does is it actually, like, you know, it starts to open it up pretty much, right? So what I like to do is I like to play around with the ratio button, and I like to, you know, sometimes I don't use it, sometimes I do use it, but I like to, you know, just add more into it. Now I've kind of already located where that body of the vocal is, where's the heartbeat of the vocal, the soul of the vocal. I like to listen to it with the rest of the music.
I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raider. I had to debate a couple things before I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision.
So pay attention, the original vocal sounds hollow. It sounds very skinny. I mean, it already sounded good for the song, but like this right here is kind of giving it that finishing touch to make it feel more than real life, you know? It's bringing the soul, bringing the heart. Sometimes with digital recordings, because we do lack like that throwback signal chain that you know, the original people had when they was making music, all the tape saturation, the board saturation, the 1073 or whatever tube microphone or preamp they was using, all of that saturation that we were missing, that kind of makes the vocals just, even though they sound clean and they sound good, they still need to have a little bit of life to it, right? And the good thing too is that when you hear those pseudo kind of like low end harmonics, it makes you feel like the vocal is a little bit closer, right? And that's a part of, you know, also if the person didn't record the vocals right, they was too far from the microphone, you can use this technique to make the vocal come a little bit more forward. So the next part is the dynamics, right? This is kind of like the attack and release. I play around with it. I just start from 0 and go max it out. So let's go.
I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raider. I had to debate a couple things before I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision.
All right, cool. So let's pay attention to now. I'm about to go into where I start doing some filtering because now I have this all of the size, but I need to make up for it, right? Like I'm trying to say from the beginning of the video, everything goes hand in hand. You can't have the burger without the fries. You can't just boost something. You have to compensate for that as well, right? So you got the high pass filter right here, which gives you different octaves. And like I always say, you know, the octave is kind of like the aggressiveness of the high pass right here. Everything that it's cutting below this frequency, right?
I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raider. I had to debate a couple things before. I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision. Try to teach you, but you.
All right, cool. So what I've done so far is I've added like so much body, so much weight to my vocal, but I need to compensate for that, right? I need to have some burgers with my fries. So what I like to do is lastly, bring in a filter.
I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raider. I had to debate a couple things before. I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision. Try to teach you, but you ain't wanna listen. That my dog, but now my dog went missing. It ain't my fault, lil' bro, you ain't had no loyalty. And that little bitch, that my brother, that my fucking Z. Take paper. I got a dream and I'ma chase it just like I take paper. I don't fuck with niggas and I don't fuck with haters. Nigga be worse than snakes, nigga be alligators. You nigga be worse than troll, you might do be the raider. I had to debate a couple things before. I had to just see that you change the world. Everything now, I got a better vision. Try to teach you, but you ain't wanna listen. That my dog, but now my dog went missing. It ain't my fault, lil' bro, you ain't had no loyalty. And that little bitch, that my brother, that my fucking Z. And if you try the bread, then I'm gon' put you on the T. Feeling like in my year, about to be 20, and in 22. Young nigga tryna get to it, tryna stack M, tryna stack all the loot. They be like, bro, keep going, just keep grinding, don't ever give up. They be like, bro, keep going, just keep grinding, don't ever give up. Feeling like in my year, about to be 20, and in 22. Young nigga tryna get to it, tryna stack M, tryna stack all the loot. They be like, bro, keep going, just keep grinding, don't ever give up. They be like, bro, keep going, just keep grinding, don't ever give up. Feeling like in my year, about to be 20, and in 22. Young nigga tryna get to it, tryna stack M, tryna stack all the.
So as you guys can tell, it definitely made a huge difference. It felt like it added some of that soul, some of that human element that can sometimes be lost with the digital recording. So of course, you know, I would tell you guys to go ahead and try this method out for yourself. It's definitely going to help you add some size to your vocal, a little bit of weight. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. I do appreciate you guys a lot. If you got any more comments, questions, let me know down below. How did this help you? Pretty sure it did. I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my family. Peace.